Marijuana is the most frequently used illicit drug in the United States, with 33% of Americans reporting they've tried the drug at least once. Although many students enter college already having used marijuana in middle or high school, about 1/3 of all students started using in college.
To me, I think it was like Pandora's box. Like once you open that shit up, or like the gates of hell or something. I mean, there was no turning back.
There's guys who sell pot aside from the other drugs that they sell, and they're probably not the best people to hang yourself around.
I lost an apartment, I lost my job, I lost my marriage, and I just came to the point where like I was gonna kill myself if I didn't stop. I couldn't do it anymore.
You know, I woke up in the hospital with a tattoo on my back, an IV in my arm, and police reports on my right.
When I smoked pot, it changed the way I felt. It made things a lot easier to deal with. Like I said, when I was 15 and learning this stuff in school and in health and everything, they taught you the chapters on drugs. You know, like they made it seem like it was something so bad, and you know, and after I did it, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, and everything became secondary. You know, I had like honors classes in school and in high school, and I started to just not really care. You know, I wanted to do all right, and I did all right, and I graduated and everything, but and I started going to college as soon as I graduated, but I ended up failing out.
When compared with non-users, a study by Block and Gonum demonstrated that college students who were heavy marijuana users did poorly in all areas of cognitive performance, including attention, memory, and the ability to organize and use information. Research shows that marijuana smokers have lower grades.
I couldn't imagine a day without smoking weed. Like I couldn't function. To clean the house, I needed to smoke a joint. To go on a drive, I needed to smoke a joint. There just wasn't, I don't know, I just couldn't stop. Like, and there were times when I did want to stop, and I can remember like, it'd be like early in the morning and like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to smoke because like it's early in the morning, and I had to smoke. And I would be mad at myself like after I did.
For me, the progression was pretty quick. You know, nothing really bad happens when you first start doing it. So you're thinking, you believe that you could do other drugs and nothing bad's gonna happen too. I started smoking pot when I was, I guess 13, maybe early 14. By the time I was 15, I'd failed 9th grade 3 times. I was hanging out with men that were much older than me, doing coke, doing lots of hallucinogenic drugs, you know, drinking a lot, waking up in strange places, and I was a little girl, you know, and I thought I was like, you know, grown-up woman. I didn't see that the drugs were the problem. I had an excuse list this big of all the reasons why my life was worse than anybody else's and why I could do whatever I wanted to do. I think I didn't give myself a chance to go through the normal stages that you go through. I think as soon as I found that, it became a way of life. You know, it was the way I coped. It was the way I got through my days.
As a young person, it's not a good idea to alter the way you think. You're at that age, you're trying to figure out who you are, you're trying to figure out what life's all about, and you don't really know a lot about the darker side of life, the darker side of your own mind. And to try and open up those doors early in life can be potentially dangerous and or habit forming. The problem is that people are just taught, oh, it's bad. And then marijuana is so common that if you try it, you realize it's not bad or not that bad. And you say, oh, well, hey, why not heroin?
You know, like 3 years ago, I ended up finding myself living on the streets of Camden, homeless, smoking crack, and shooting heroin. And I wouldn't necessarily say that everybody who smokes pot is going to end there, but I believe that if I would have never smoked pot, I probably would have never did coke, and which means I don't think I would have tried acid, and all these different doors would have never opened. Like in the very end, it was 2004 Mother's Day. I was waiting at the bus stop on the Black Horse Pike in front of the Hojo, and I wanted drugs, like real bad. I was starting to get sick, and I had enough money in my pocket. I walked across the street. I was at the bus stop because I didn't have a car, I didn't have a license. I just got kicked out of the home I was at, so this was the beginning of the end. And I went to the Hojo to see what time it was because the bus was running every hour on Mother's Day. It was the 400 to Camden, and there was a car. Somebody must have they were checking their stuff in, and the keys were running. And my fucking head says, "That's you can get to Camden," you know. So I look around. There's nobody. I jump in the car. I pull my jacket over so I didn't put any fingerprints on the steering wheel, and I just floored it right out of here. And these people are probably you know, where's my car going? And I just went as fast as I could. Cops know who addicts are, and they'll do whatever, you know, to catch them. And I got caught, and they took me in. I was locked up or whatever, and then I had somebody come bail me out. It was just you know, until I went to court or whatever. As soon as I got home, I got more money and went right back. It didn't matter. If I would have got caught again and taken in there, I would have went back as soon as I got done again. You know, and there's spots to get coke, there's spots to get dope, there's spots to get pot. There's a spot for everything. That's Frank. See that church on the right-hand side?
Yep.
That's it.
That's Frank's?
My name is Carol Riley. I'm the Executive Director of New Visions Community Services of Camden, which is Frank's Place. Being in this place, this is the mom and pop place. Everybody does everything. I hire people to run my building who are homeless. And this is where you come when nobody else wants you. This is where you come when you can get every service that you need, especially when you're hungry or tired. You come in here and you rest. I have a lot of lost children. I have so many children who use drugs. That's the biggest thing, drugs. Drugs, alcohol, mental disabilities. But they come here to me and I help them. I try to help them to cut down on their drug so that they can get a life again.
Sure, I think the majority of the people in their younger days had some type of affiliation with marijuana. It was a passing phase for me. I used it when I was 7, 18, like that, and then I graduated. Because I started getting bored with it and started looking for something else. And I didn't believe it when they say that early when they told me it could lead you to harder drugs, but my track record speaks for itself, and it did.
Okay, I started marijuana, okay, and it wasn't good enough. After a while, it gets old, and you want to try something new. And then you move to the next step, and it pulls you in. It pulls you in, and you're not strong enough to get out on your own. You're just not.
My patrons, I talk to them on a daily basis. And I have children who come in from places like schools and Romero Center and all like that. And my patrons will talk to them and tell them, this is how I started out. I started out on marijuana. Marijuana is the culprit. You start on that, and from that, you go into other things. It escalates. Some people huff. Some people use heroin. Some people use crack cocaine. But it all starts out from marijuana. And some people don't believe that, but that's where it starts. You can ask any of my patrons, and all of them will tell you we started out with marijuana.
Adults who were early marijuana users are 8 times more likely to have used cocaine, 15 times more likely to have used heroin, and 5 times more likely to seek treatment for abuse or dependence on any drug.
You know, all right, like, you know, when people talk about, like, would you break up with your girlfriend or boyfriend if they got really, really wasted and went out and hooked up with somebody else? I'd be like, yes, I would. Because you know what? She made the decision to get really wasted without me being around there and just went and, you know, started hitting on some other guy and ends up sleeping with him. Yeah, I'd be kind of pissed.
Hello, my name is Melissa Niles. I'm a recovery coach for SODAT of New Jersey. We're a nonprofit agency, and we provide treatment and prevention for drug and alcohol abuse. Once a person takes that first drug, and it's usually marijuana because that's just the way it is. People usually smoke marijuana first because of the reputation that it has. It's not that bad. It's a plant. That once we take that first illegal action, it makes it a lot easier to do the next action, and makes that easier to do the next one and then the next one.
I think that when it's just pot, maybe it never gets bad enough for you to stop, but like you never really accomplish anything. You know, it never gets good either. I have very good examples of people in my lifetime that have just sort of gotten by, and will never even say that it's a problem for them, but they just sort of get by, you know, and that's not a way to live. It's sad. My brother's 21. He dropped out of school in 8th grade. He breaks my heart. You know, he started smoking pot when he was 13 years old. He has basically, he sort of just exists and doesn't live. You know, his entire world revolves around sitting in front of his computer and getting high. He cannot hold a job. He, you know, doesn't date, has no friends, and, at this point, his coping skills are so bad just with normal living that if he doesn't have pot, he is like a maniac to be around. And whatever people say their reasons for relaxing, for having a good time, to take the chance that you could end up being a person that cannot even function in life without being high, it sucks, you know. Just like my brother, you know, my best friend Jen that I lived with in that apartment when I was a senior, you know, she was everybody's funny little pothead. She was the saddest soul that couldn't get her through a day without getting high. And, you know, when that stopped working for her, when that stopped taking the pain away, she moved on to harder things. And now she's dead. You know, I don't want that to happen to my brother.
There's firsthand evidence of marijuana smokers exhibiting amotivational syndrome, a collection of behaviors that include apathy, a lack of willingness to work towards goals, and a general loss of effectiveness in life. Amotivational syndrome means that heavy users of marijuana may only care about getting high and little else.
I got married young, and we got stationed down in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And my husband was deployed to Afghanistan after 9/11, and he went to Iraq. Like, he got deployed, and I started smoking a lot. And I used the excuse, like, well, he's deployed, like, I'm a mess. I smoked all day, every day. And I surrounded myself with people who, that's all they did too. And he came home from being deployed, and I was supposed to have saved up all this money, but I was just gonna smoke pot and do whatever I wanted. And, like, obviously, like, that financial goal was not met. So when he got home, he was really, really mad. And I said, oh, I'll quit smoking pot when he gets home, I'll quit. And I couldn't. So when he got sent back to Iraq, he said later on, he told me that he was so, this is sad, that he was so glad to have been deployed back to Iraq because all I did was smoke pot. He felt like he didn't have a marriage anymore because all I was concerned about was getting high and hanging out with those kind of people who got high.
I would think that the real danger to yourself and others is you're going to neglect life. You're going to neglect your friends. You're going to neglect your family. You're going to neglect responsibility.
Well, I believe that the marijuana use limits the user to their social development and their emotional development because users seek out other users and they eliminate and exclude anybody who's going to question or challenge their using. So the only people that they hang around
are other marijuana smokers, and a lot of times I always hear, everybody smokes weed, everybody gets high. They don't realize that their world is about this big because all they surround themselves are is with what they know, because they really do believe that the whole world gets high, and they think that we're the ones with the problem. Their problem is that we won't leave them alone.
Somebody's saying like, pot gets you to escape from reality. Well, if I could escape from reality, then I wouldn't have gotten arrested, right? Because I would have walked away from that situation. I just would have been high and floated away, right? But no, reality was that I was still high. The cop busted me and then pulled me into jail, and I got charged. So you're still part of reality.
You know, I'm learning to not act out the way I used to. And, you know, because I realized once I put the drugs down that that wasn't the only thing that was wrong with me. You know, I've got addictive behaviors. Like, I want everything all the time.
Addictive personality, like that's where, you know, after a couple years or whatever, the addicts get separated from like the people who like, yeah, I smoked pot for a couple years when I was in high school and like then I gave it up. I think it has a lot to do with the disease of addiction.
You know, part of our brain, the potential addicts, we don't know because addiction has been linked genetically. And sometimes we don't know that it's there until it's triggered by something. So why take that risk of unleashing something within you that could destroy you?
It becomes the thing that you look forward to. It becomes the thing that you turn to. It becomes a way of your life. Their life sort of revolves around, you know, getting it, finding it, using it, getting it, finding it, using it. Yes, I do believe it's addictive. It may not be physically addicting, but it absolutely is addictive.
I definitely think I'm happier because I don't miss, the one thing I don't miss is going to court. I don't miss going to jail or waiting for any kind of sentence, whether it's probation or a jail term. I don't miss like hearing the police behind me and wondering like, what am I going to get caught with now, you know? I don't miss that at all. Or I also don't miss like my mom looking at me and saying, you know, like, you're a f***ing lowlife. I feel better about who I am. The more positive things that I do, the better I feel about myself.
Without elaborating, like by the end, I would have done anything to keep getting high. You know, I totally gave up my self-respect. I was doing anything to keep getting high, whatever I had to do. And that's really tough to take a look at some of your actions. And to know that you cared so little about yourself that, you know, like they'll say like if the drugs don't kill you, the lifestyle will. Well, like I'm very surprised the lifestyle didn't. You know, I walked myself around North Philadelphia, I lived there. Like I was real tough, you know, at 115 pounds and, you know, scrawny little white girl walking around the big city. Like she was a hard ass. Like I'm very lucky to be alive. You know, I sort of sat down and realized that probably I'm gonna die and it's gonna be my fault. I did this to my life if I don't try something. I went to rehab. I went there with only the intention of stopping smoking crack. I got out and I stayed clean for 3 months. And I decided that maybe I could just start smoking pot, just start drinking again. And very shortly after that, my life was headed right in the same direction. And I decided to get clean on January 1st, 2005. I always, like I tell my little sister, I have a sister that's 14. She's the only person in my family that doesn't use drugs. And I try to show her like the examples of people that, you know, once you're an adult and you're still so lost and trying to find out who you are when you didn't give yourself a chance to figure that out. Just how sad of a person you become, such a shell of a person as an adult.
And for me, like I never grew up. You know, like I started using so young and like for me I think that, you know, that's why I like went into my adult years for so long. Because when you pick up a drug at like 13, you know, they say that you don't emotionally develop. And like I'll vouch for that. Because I'm 29 now and I feel like a child.
So however old I am, when I take that first drug, I was 12 years old, I stopped growing emotionally. Physically, I continued to grow. But however old I am, when I take that first drug, that's how old I stay, as long as I continue to use. So if I get clean when I'm 30, Physically, I'm a 30-year-old woman, but emotionally, I'm a 12-year-old girl.
Smoking is not the best thing, obviously, for your body. You know, getting high and driving is not a good idea. Like, but again, it also just comes back to like the person,
How
how responsible an individual is, and not the drug itself. Because it's like this thing is not creating you decisions in your mind. You do that yourself.
You know, I'd say it's your decision to do it. Make sure you know it. You know, you make that decision. Make sure you know what you're doing. You know, think about it. It's every decision you make in your life has a consequence, and good or bad, you have to live with it. You know, like I said, I don't know if I would change anything, but I'll tell you what, like I would have saved myself a lot of pain, a lot of hassles. The bad doesn't outweigh the good. That was the conclusion I came to. Otherwise, if I would still be smoking pot now.
That one morning, like I had been partying all night, and I came out and it was just the birds were chirping and the sun was coming out, and it was like another night wasted partying, and I just started crying. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. And I kind of just put my hands up.
I want to do something. I want to be proud of the things that I do. And smoking pot, anybody can do it. I mean,
As adults, heavy marijuana users report lower income, lower education, and lower life satisfaction than non-users.